My name is Rocky Hanish. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, actually Scottsdale. I am an architect in training and work at Winslow Architects. Professionally, after school, I've been working for about 8 years, like higher education to residential to some more sculptural stuff. But yeah, you can check out my website at manifoldarchitecture.design.
What key life experiences that have formed who you are today?
Key life experiences. I think having a family that really supported me in creative endeavors was really great for me. My family was always very supportive, and then I had really great mentors in school. Kathleen Cupper was one of them. She was my art teacher I think I was in seventh or eighth grade, and she started a program, an after-school program, where we could make like architectural models. Life experiences, I think, traveling has been a big one, to see kind of the world from outside your own culture, from outside American culture, was really cool.
How did you become passionate and involved in design?
I think I always had a fascination. It kind of started with photography and animation, actually.
Mhm.
When I was little, when I was like probably in elementary school or middle school, I had the family video camera my mom would let me use, and I would build like with Legos or like other stuff, and I would always make like little
Motion
experiments.
picture. What are your core values and how do they reflect in your practice?
I think I've always been interested in abstraction and how people think about abstraction. So how we represent ideas or how we represent our own ideas is interesting to me, and then how that fits into a story that we tell. I guess core values would be, yeah, I think just
So,
making work that's meaningful in
yeah,
some way.
so what is your design process?
It's different depending on what you're designing. I think a design process is framing everything that you need to solve a certain problem, and then setting out and finding a novel way of solving it. But I also think that design process could be something as simple as just doing like a 30-second sketch. In architecture, I think process is more finding all of the constraints and programs and requirements for a building, and then start to piece those together on a site and figure out what the possible layouts of things are. And that process can be really fun because sometimes the more constraints you have, the more challenging it is, but also the more creative you can be when working in between those constraints. So it just depends on the type of problem that you're trying to solve, I think.
How do you collaborate with other individuals to realize your impactful work?
Collaboration is like one of the most fun things about architecture. That's a strength of that architects have to be able to collaborate, I think. I mean, it's always a group process, when you're working with future boss or future coworkers or whatever, you're going to find that you're working in a team most of the time. So working well with others and like knowing how to communicate and knowing how to be clear in your communication and why things are important and all that stuff. So the best architecture can come out of collaboration. So in reality, it's you're in a field with other professionals and you have to know how everybody brings something different to that process, and that's like one of the most important kind of aspects of design, I think, is that it's really integrative. You're integrating people's knowledge.
Yeah. Where do you think design is going in the future?
Design in the future, I think, because Phoenix is full of suburbs and it's not the best use of land, in terms of land use, and it
Mhm.
tends to alienate people from one another. It kind of it spreads people out. Like a city like Amsterdam, for example, is very
Okay.
dense but very walkable, and people have little yards and people have little gardens and everything. It's a very beautiful city. Yeah, sustainability is super important. Like what we build buildings out of, the materials,
Hmm.
and where they're sourced from, how efficiently we're using those materials, but also the process of design, like to be efficient in executing the architecture and making the building.
What are the biggest challenges you face?
Design, I think communication is the hardest one. Um,
What advice would you give to a young student?
you can always solve a problem from a different perspective, no matter what someone has presented to you as a problem. You can always take a different perspective on it and find a unique angle on it. Bring your passion to the problem and try and see the problem in a new light. And not that, when professors give students requirements for a project, they're not doing it to torture you. So don't
Yeah.
lose hope. Don't lose, motivation that you can't solve a problem. You can always do something to solve a problem. You can always try and see it from a new lens. And that's one of my friends told me recently, that effort is free. We can put as much effort into something as we want, and it doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah.
It's just how much we want to put effort into it, right? You can always find a new perspective on a problem, I think, would be my answer for that.
Mhm.